Hi folks, welcome back. So we're back from Melbourne. Ended up getting COVID for the flaming entire week after we got back, so there's been no recording done. It knocked me flat on my backside and I was asleep for a week. So we're back at work now and decided to try and see if we can trim this patch that we made up to try and see if we can get it to fit in the front of this fender, because we've only got the two front fenders and the front stone tray left to do, and Dylan's car is then ready to start getting some paint on it. So I want to try and play catch up this week after work every night and see what I can do to get this thing ready to start putting mud on, to then get it primed up and ready with like the rest of the body. So we'll grab this and where's my button? See how close we can get it, or if we're going to cut it all up and start again. Okay. Somewhere like that, maybe. Buried right down the back of the neck. Awesome. Okay, so that's better. Kinda. Alright. Might have to let that first one go, because it's not where I want it. Okay. Oh. I'll get the grinder and let that first tack go, see if I can flex it around a bit more. Okay, so we've roughly got both ends held on, just to see what we can do to shape it. Move some of this stuff. And see if we can move this around a bit. Now, lighting in here is terrible at night. It's terrible for the day. That's got to go and fold through there. So this top piece, there we go. It's not going to sit up there for me. Like that. Maybe. Put that up there. Okay. Should be able to get from there through to that corner there tacked, and from there through to that corner tacked, and then I just have to try and beat that up a little bit to match that, and then join it through. So we'll join those up now and see what we can do with that. Okay, so looking back here, see if I can stand in a spot that's not going to block the light. Might help if we ground it, huh? say here. Just put one on the corner while I flex it. Yep, okay, so that'll hold it in spot. Mm-hmm. Okay, that'll do for the moment. So we'll just let that cool, and I'll grab a drink and think about what we're doing. But there's a low spot there on that patch that I knew was there from when I made the patch. So I'll try and dolly that up in that corner there, and then that should make it so we can tack the middle, let it cool, and then join the center to the outer and the center to the inner. And we should be then right to go on the inside of the panel and weld it from inside. Okay, so we've dressed up from underneath between the welds, and it's good enough, and we're just going to tack in the middle, let it sit for a bit, and then finish there to there. And then we can lay it over, and we're going to fully weld from the inside, so it's welded both sides, and it'll give us some beef there so we can dress it and sand it and get it close to what we want before we cover it in filler. Okay, we'll let that cool for a bit. And then we'll play connect the dots. Okay. Try and set it that way. I might actually be able to see what I'm doing. Maybe. Alright. Let that fully cool, and then we'll come back from inside that one. Okay, let's see if we can get this buttoned up from inside and finish for tonight. Okay, getting there. Just a spot down there. Cool. Okay. I'm happy with that. Yep. Alright, so that'll seal up from inside okay. It'll give us a little bit of meat on the outside to dress, because we're not going to dress on the inside. We'll just leave that how it came off the welder. So get this thing out of here. So all we did along the inside there is welded it from the back to give it a bit more beef behind the weld that's on the outside there. And then once we've dressed the outside up and then down through here, that's got to be dressed in a little bit, which will then bring that in a little bit, which will then let it flow into there. And then we have to build this 90 to come up and along once we shape that opening a little bit more, because you can see down here it steps up, so there's not the flow through there. So we'll do that and then build this piece to go down through there, which will then give us somewhere to spot weld our the headlight bucket cup into. Okay, so I'm stuffed for tonight and I don't want to make too much noise and upset old mate over the road. So we're going to call it quits for the night, and we'll probably leave it at that until maybe Friday afternoon after work or Saturday morning when we can make a bit more of a racket. I'll just turn you around and show you how far we got. So it's fully welded inside and out. It's got to be dressed up yet and shaped and then have the excess cut off. But from what it started with no real metal and holes everywhere, it'll do. It's good enough to fill and it's good enough to hold shape. So considering that we could not find a decent XK donor car anywhere, this has got to be better than what he had. So, all right, we'll wrap it up there and get back into it on Friday afternoon or Saturday morning, and we'll get you caught up then. Okay, see you then. Hi guys, so what we've done is I finished welding all that front lip in the other day that we showed you. I've got to go back and knock the top of the welds off and whatnot. But what I've done is made a template out of the front leading edge of the good fender over there, and we've laid it on here to show us how much of that infill panel that we've put in that has to be ground away or sanded away to get the shape that we're after. So now we take this off, pop up there for later. So that entire section there up to that black mark has to be sanded away, and then what we'll do is fill in this inner part and weld that on and drill the holes in it so we can put the bucket back in and tack weld it in. So I'll get the sander out and we'll hook into that. Okay, so we've sanded all through there and got it into the shape that we want to follow the template. Now I've just guillotined off a rough strip that's longer than what we need to do the lip. And now, see if we can work out where we have to start putting bends in it. Because as well as rolling it that way, we've also got to get it to snake around flat. So see, not really sure, probably put a bit of a roll in it first, then put it in the shrinker stretcher to try and roll it around. I don't know. What do we stretch that into it and then roll it? About there. It needs to snake around a bit. So just give it a little. So let's put like a little bit of a bend in it, and then start rolling it by hand. That'll work to about there. Get that up a bit. I reckon we can get that in and tack it to about there, and then once it's held in place we can manipulate the rest of it to where we want it to go. So that didn't take much. I'll get the welder set up and move one of the cars out, and we'll get this up there and start getting that on. Okay, so let's get this tacked on in a couple of spots and see if we can manipulate it to where we want it. This way. Okay. So that's where we want that. It's not where I want that piece. Yeah. Okay, I've got to grab a hammer for a second. Okay, it's roughly where we want it. Okay, now I just got to trim a little bit off the edge of that and sit that in flush, and we'll be good to go. Okay, time to get it buttoned up. Okay. Okay, now down this way a bit. Let's see. Okay, so we're going to grab a drink and let that cool off for a bit without putting any air on it, so we don't get any hard spots, and then we'll weld from there up, let it cool, and then from there down and let it cool, and then it should be ready to grind off. Okay, let's get this finished up. Couple of spots I missed up the top and down the bottom. Where was it? Right there. And go around this. Okay, so that's fully done, and we're going to let that cool fully so you can touch it. Then I'll try and stand the fender up and we'll get in from behind. And before we grind any of that up or sand any of that up, we're going to try and weld from the back so that there's a bit of material there. So when we do sand it or grind it, we've got a bit of material to shape and not blow through holes everywhere. Hey, muddy blue. Playing in the mud. Alright, let's see if I can actually get my hands in here and work out where the heck I need to do this. One pinhole here I missed. Okay, so now kinda. See if I can get it around from the other side. No, that's it. That's as far around as I can get. That'll do. Okay, so we're going to finish it up there for now because I've got to let some of the seam sealer dry up that we've put underneath the repair we did on the fender. So we've welded it from both sides, ground it back, and on the underside I've brushed on some brushable seam sealer just to seal it up so no moisture can get through it, which is up in there. And we've gone up in under the seam and up in under there. We've welded from the back and the front, so that way when we came to dress it we could grind the front face, the inside face, and put a bit of a curve on it, which has worked out okay. And for a fender that I didn't think really was savable, it's going to be usable for what the car's going on. So yeah, it's going to need some fill work, a lot fill work, but hey, an otherwise useless fender that was going to get thrown away. And to be honest, the rest of it's actually really solid. This was a good one, even though that front corner was stoved in. And over here we've got our headlight bucket, cleaned it up, zipped all the rust off it and most of the paint, and straightened it up as much as we could because in there was all creased and folded from when the front corner got punched in, and it should be close enough to the right shape now that we've got a coat of weld through primer on it. Once that's all dry and the fender's all dry, we'll flex it in and shape it up and get it all spot welded in. And back here we've just used the same black zinc epoxy etch primer that we used on the inside of the fender, and that I thought was all the rust that was left in the Falcon ready to go, so then Dylan would be able to get some paint on it. But the good fender that we used to copy the front edge, and that is good, this one's nice and solid all around the nose cone, no impact damage, pretty tidy. And then we get down here to the structural point at the bottom, at the top, and where it bolts to the bodywork. So more rust, but at least all that stuff's hidden in places where you're not going to see it, so it won't be as picky, I suppose you could say, when we go to plate it up. Might even overlap it a bit and just cut the old stuff out and box it in. But yeah, all in all, a little bit closer, ready to get paint on this thing. And Dylan's back in next weekend, blocking more of the guide coat and getting that thing ready for a coat of sealer. And yeah, then colour and clear. So thanks for watching. See you again next time, and don't forget, if you feel like it, give us a like and a subscribe. Thanks buddies, bye.